All right, so let me see. I see. Yep, here we
There
go.
we go. Now live.
Everybody, buckle up. It's the moment you've all been waiting for.
Live.
We're here. We made it through 2021, guys.
That was close.
What a year. Fantastic year for NVIDIA Omniverse. And there are, I mean, so much has happened for Omniverse last year, and this year is going to be awesome for Omniverse. Uh, so, hi, I'm Wendy. I'm the community manager for Omniverse, and I'm so happy to have all of you here today. This stream is going to be amazing because we have almost all of the brilliant minds behind Omniverse here to talk about the highlights of last year and hopefully some new things that we can look forward to this year. Another great thing I got for Christmas was a new live stream server. So we are streaming at 4K.
Yay. The popular demand.
So that was our number one complaint was we just weren't outputting the graphics, and it is so difficult to do when you're streaming in people from all over the world. And for Christmas, I've got the computer that can actually handle all of that. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Exciting.
so let me know how it looks. If you have any opinions, I'm happy to work on it and get things going so that you have the best view of what's going on. So I'm going to turn it over to Edmar, my partner in crime.
Thank you, Wendy. This is really exciting. So, so like Wendy said, we kind of have the dream team here. And to be honest, so Wendy and I and the other folks on the team get to participate in some great meetings on planning when we get to see the interactions with all these folks together. But the community never gets to see all of these folks talking at the same time together. And I think you're in for a wild ride. I told them the stream's going to be an hour, but actually we've scheduled for 12 hours. So this is going to be a marathon stream.
Right.
We'll see what we can cover. So we'll probably be here for about an hour. So definitely start posting your questions in the chat room. We're going to introduce everybody. We're going to kick off 2022 by kind of going over what some of the bigger achievements on the platform have been. I kind of feel like in my head, 2021 was kind of like the year of the creator in Omniverse as we built out the platform, and now we're kind of starting to support developers in a very big way. And we have our fan favorite Damien here to talk more about that. Frank is here to talk about the roadmap. Rev, Vision, Karis, all of the above. So why don't we just get things started, and why don't we everyone introduce ourselves? Richard, you want to kick things off with your introduction, a little bit of background?
Sure. And I'll also have to start off by saying that I can only stay for a little bit. I'm double booked, so I wanted to be here for this initial kickoff, but since we're going 12 hours, I can come back. So I'm Richard Karras, our vice president of our developer ecosystem for Omniverse. I've been with the company 3 years, but have a long history in computer graphics, visual effects. Was at Lucasfilm for a long while, and a couple other companies, including one, if you know what that box is, back there in the early days. So that's who I am.
Awesome, thank you. Rev? You're
He's
you're,
muted.
There he goes.
There he is.
Name's Rev Libridian. I've been at NVIDIA for 20 years this month.
You are the veteran of this channel.
And previous to that, I did a lot of work in visual effects, primarily in rendering, writing renderers. Been doing computer graphics since I was a kid in the 80s. Now I'm an old man now, but I'm still basically doing the same thing I started doing when I was a teenager. Kicked off this whole Omniverse thing about 4 or 5 years ago. But really, Omniverse for me is a culmination of all the work we've been doing at NVIDIA since the inception of NVIDIA. It's what binds it all together. All our rendering, physics, simulation, AI, and simulation capabilities. So I lead the Omniverse and Simulation Technology Group here at NVIDIA.
Awesome, thank you. And as I mentioned, our popular repeat guest, Damien.
I always give you too much credit. So super excited to be on another live stream. It's always really buzzed to be there and excited to participate. So yeah, my role, I lead the Omniverse Kit group. So that's the software, platform for the platform, and working very closely with the gentleman here. Before that, I was in visual effects for about 20 years. So like last movie credits was on Lion King, working there for Technicolor. And then one day I met Revs and we had loads of talk about Omniverse and what they were building, or now we're building at NVIDIA. And I thought, okay, well, I want to join in. What do I need to do? And I hassled him until he hired me. So now I'm here.
That's awesome. And Damien will be here in about 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about Omniverse code. So for all the developers out there who want to learn about that,
He did hassle me till I hired him.
It's a good technique. It's a good technique. If you show sufficient perseverance, people will notice you.
It worked out well for everybody. Mr. Frank DeLise, last but not least, who are you?
Oh, I don't know.
Who's this guy?
Trying to figure that out.
So VP of the Omniverse platform. My background is just a jumbled mess of goodness and graphics, but actually started as a designer, 3ds Max 1.0 way back when. Remember SIGGRAPH 95? Pretty fun stuff. So I did a lot of product management and design of tools, and then one day decided I loved games, so I made a game mod called Desert Combat, if anyone remembers that, and had my own studio building Homefront and Frontlines, and so I did a lot of games and graphics, and my passion has always just been around graphics and real-time technology and how that intersects with the future with AEC and manufacturing and building things and creators, and so I'm just Omniverse is just a dream come true project, because it's really, like Rev said, the culmination of all this amazing technology finally like really coming together and doing things that are just didn't even think was possible in our lifetime.
What a great way to kick things off. So obviously everybody can hear the passion in each of their voices, and that's why I'm smiling so much, because I'm so glad this is shining through here today. So you all have had a very amazing background and where your paths have led to up to here. What makes Omniverse so special? So obviously we talk about it as a open platform for simulation and collaboration. But what does it mean to you, Richard? First, since you're
Well, I think to me, it is like Frank said, it's the dream come true. I mean, I think one of the biggest highlights I saw last year was early in the year when we showed some stuff with Omniverse. I all of a sudden started getting contacts from people that I've worked with many years earlier. And that led to us hosting the pioneers of computer graphics at our GTC. But what they reached out and said that same thing, like, I won't say the exact words because we're live, but they said, holy, and they were like, wow, you guys are doing stuff that we dreamed about 30 years ago. You're the reality that we talked about way back then. And that led to this great conversation. We set up, some of those pioneers to talk to the Omniverse team and trade stories and stuff like that back and forth. More recently, about 10 years ago at Lucasfilm, one of our biggest challenges was managing locations. And it was a huge undertaking between Marin and Singapore. And when I started to see what Rev and team were building with Omniverse, it was literally, like Frank said, it was a dream come true. You're connecting the world, you're solving these big problems, and you're doing it in real time. It's like,
Yeah,
wow,
real time. Yeah.
and Rev or Damien, or actually any of you, do you think so? Where does USD's place in all this? Because I know, Rev, you mentioned this has kind of been evolving ever since the beginning of NVIDIA in a way. Was USD a big factor on why this was able to be over the last 4 years what it is now?
Without USD, I don't think we could have done what we've done with Omniverse. And there was a confluence of things that started happening about 5-6 years ago that set the stage for why it made sense to create Omniverse and invest this much into it. One of those things was USD. When Pixar open sourced it in 2015, I took a look at it and said, I've been doing computer graphics since the 80s. We've seen many different representations of 3D data come and go, people trying to standardize it. and most of those attempts have largely failed. But we've reached a point where the maturity of all of the tools and the necessity of exchanging 3D information about our worlds is so great that the time had come for there to be some kind of common standard so we can connect all of these things together. And seeing that Pixar had done that, if you think about it, there's no one company in the world that has been creating large virtual worlds with many disciplines, many people with different skill sets using different tools, all collaborating to construct those virtual worlds for as long as Pixar. And they've had many generations of trying to describe these virtual worlds so they can combine the art that's created by their modelers with their animators and lighters and texture painters and all of them together. It made sense that Pixar would land on the representation that makes the most sense for the rest of us. Now, that doesn't mean it's complete, but we saw it as the seed, the thing that could actually make this happen. And we saw an analogy between what was just introduced with USD and how the web started in 1993. I remember when I first saw HTML then. I mean, it was so basic. All you could do was combine some text and a few really low resolution, low quality images together to create a page, but it was already powerful because you could link these things together and compose much bigger documents. And most importantly, you could make it alive by putting it on a server and sharing it with others. So when we saw USD, we said, this is our chance to add to USD, to add to the world what happened with the web, where we took these static documents that you could create before, you could do it in Word or some other thing, and now make it alive and have the whole world contribute to constructing this thing together. So USD is critical. Without there being a common understanding of these virtual worlds, and if we can't speak the same language, and we have no chance of constructing the larger web of them.
Yeah, so actually, let's talk about that for a minute. So so that this growing ecosystem in Omniverse and different partners and tools. So obviously, a big key component of that, what makes that possible, because Omniverse is not just what NVIDIA makes. Omniverse is basically adds to what other people make, right? So those other so Richard, I've heard you talk about this a little bit. How do you explain that, and what Omniverse does for these other tools people use already?
It's important to note that Omniverse doesn't set out to replace. It enhances and extends the existing workflows, whether it's in AEC or manufacturing, M&E, et cetera, et cetera. And by being open, you can connect to Omniverse in different ways. You can connect with an Omniverse connector and be live, so the changes in one take place in your 3D app and things like that, or you can connect to export things. But what it does is it brings a whole new set of capabilities to your workflow. There's 20 plus years of NVIDIA technology at the base of Omniverse. So you get AI, you get multi-GPU rendering, you get all these cool things that you can just add into your workflow and take advantage of, as well as working with other applications that may not have worked well together in the past. And the collaboration part, whether you're across the room or across the globe, you're working live in that 3D space with others. That I think is amazing.
Yeah, and there's a bunch. So obviously, if you're using a tool that supports USD, you should be able to work with Omniverse in some way, in varying levels, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can use a mobile device to scan something nowadays, and that's a USD file, and then you can drop it in and do something. But what really comes alive is when the partners build a connector, so their 3D application is connected live to the platform. That's when you really start to see the advantages come out.
Yeah, that's one of the big questions we get a lot is, how do we get this application working with Omniverse? So I think the best advice I usually tell people is talk to the people who make that tool and try to encourage them to support USD. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and most are or have plans to. You know,
Mhm.
the beauty is, like Rev said, this is a, you know, a standard that everybody is working on together, like HTML was. It's got a ways to go, and there's more stuff to happen. But, you know, just this past year, the rigid body dynamics that got ratified was done with NVIDIA, Apple, and Pixar. You know, so you see these companies working together because it's better for everyone.
And so if anyone who wants more information about USD, NVIDIA actually created a really insightful course. So if you do a search for USD and DLI, you'll probably come up right at the top. It's called Getting Started with USD for Collaborative 3D Workflows. And it goes through all the aspects of USD, and you don't have to be an experienced programmer to understand it. But I think that base knowledge will probably help you a lot as you start to work with the file format.
Yeah.
So
And
speaking, oh, go
well,
ahead.
one quick thing, as I said at the top when we started, since I have to drop, I just wanted to say hi to everybody and thanks for being here. If you are going 12 hours, I'll come back, but I'm going to turn you over to these folks and drop off. So thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
So Damien, so obviously, when we've hosted your presence at the user groups and on live streams, people do get really excited because you talk about all the new stuff coming for developers, and your time really seems like is about to shine very shortly with code. And one of the questions we get a lot about code lately, as we started to talk about at CES, is what is the difference between what we have right now in Omniverse called Kit and what we recently released, what we've had for a while, Kit, and what we recently released in Code. How would you explain what each is?
Yeah, so I'll go, try to keep it concise, but still give you a sort of the rest of the story, right? The Omniverse application is very broad, as we discussed. There is a breadth of things that we're doing, and it's all started from this pool of ideas and technologies that we sort of put together, many before me and the team that we've assembled since I joined to sort of grow that functionality. Yeah? And so there was always a vision of these decentralized things with applications and extensions and a core and this SDK, this platform that would, where they would spawn from. But at the very beginning, these things, they're very close to each other, right? You have the app and then you have the SDK and you have the extension. They sort of tend to grow, a little bit very close to each other. And as the platform mature, we sort of express that vision that was there from the beginning in a more concrete form, right? We kind of start having that maturity that we can say, okay, we really need an application for the creator. People need to see that the application for the user, the creators, is not the kit. It's different. And so that's why a year ago we introduced Create. Create was really an expression of, hey, you can use the platform as a creator. You can use Create, and then the kit SDK is the platform for the developer, is where the tool come from. So that was a reflection of that maturity where we start splitting the two and then evolve them user-facing kind of technology and then developer SDK-facing technology inside Kit as in SDK. And then the year went on, and again, we can talk a little bit about some of the great stuff that came through these various iterations. But through the second half of the year, it was clear that people still kind of felt, okay, well, I'm using Kit, but I need to test my code. I need to validate what do I do if I'm a developer? Do I use Create? Do I use Kit? How do they work together? And so reinforcing the efforts that we have toward our developer community, we build Code. So Code is an application designed for the developer, so they can have an easy onboarding, like a really great experience like you have with Create. You go on the launcher, you download it, it launches, it's all ready for you. You have access to these great videos. You have the extension that you need as a creator that are front and center. You start drag and dropping things in 10 minutes, you make a really great Christmas picture. And so that was Create, and we wanted that experience for our developer. So Code is really a consolidated experience for a developer to get started with the platform. they can build extension for Create, they can build extension for View, they can start learning about the rendering, they can start learning about building shared extension for the platform, microservices. And then the Kit SDK continue to refine itself to really represent that baseline, runtimes and developer tools that are common to everything. Create, use Kit, Drive Sim, use Kit, View, use Kit, Code, use Kit. They are the foundation of the things, including like Omniverse Farm, for example. Omniverse Farm that we also shipped, and we should talk about some of the highlight of 2021 from a developer perspective, was using Kit. It hasn't got UI, it hasn't got like fancy buttons or anything. It's using Kit at the core. That's what it runs. But it's a streamlined set of extensions and configurations and workflow that are designed for specific use cases. So that's really the refinement of our platform, right? And we'll see probably more apps coming in, and then the refinement of the Kit as this really fundamental core. And the apps, they represent fine-tuned workflow and experience for the end users in specific use cases.
Awesome.
One thing I'm excited about is with Code is just streamlining the sharing experience, so that when you do build an extension or even build a new app based on Kit, we want to really fine tune that experience to deliver that through the launcher and allow anyone to share that. So really just opening up the developer ecosystem is going to be really key with Code.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think we should take a few minutes to talk about some of these things we do.
Oh, and with that, here we go. I'll probably come back in a second. He always has the best mic drop.
Mic drop.
Come back.
Mid-sentence.
Okay, so we hear you now, Dave. We don't see your video yet, but while you're getting your video back down if you want, Frank, can you talk a little bit about? So we have a couple of different flavors of Omniverse right now, right? The big announcement for CES was that basically it's free for everybody. So we have an Omniverse for individuals, and then we have the enterprise. So if someone's looking to get into Omniverse, how would you explain the differences?
Yeah, I mean, the core principle is that everyone can go get Omniverse and use it. I mean, it's up on NVIDIA website. You can go up and use any of the applications. You can use it for commercial purposes. And the main really difference between Omniverse for individuals and Omniverse Enterprise is getting that enterprise level support. There are some enterprise features for like Nucleus that when you do deploy it on-prem, it allows you to use like authentication from your employer and that sort of thing, and or tools for IT to deploy the product across multiple users. And but yeah, no, today anyone can go take Omniverse and use it commercially. We have a limit of 2 users per project. So you can have many projects, of course, in the same organization. We didn't want to do the revenue thing because we want to make sure it's just easy to evaluate for anyone. Anyone can use it, but that's kind of where we have a limit today, which is that more than 2 users you get an enterprise license.
Did you talk about 2 concurrent users? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
Okay,
2 concurrent users on a project. That's right.
So you can technically have more users, right? But
and you can have more projects. So that's why I made it project based. It's just basically the spirit is once you start scaling the project up, that's when you should pay for licenses and get support and that sort of thing.
Right.
But we want to make sure it's super easy for any developer. They can go on there and start developing with it. They can make extensions, and they can distribute those extensions. They can make apps and distribute them if they want on top of the platform. So it's really easy for anyone to jump in and use it and full featured.
So that is a perfect segue to a question. So I see we have a lot of new viewers today. So welcome everybody. We're talking about Omniverse, NVIDIA's open platform for real-time sim and collaboration. So one of the questions that you just touched on, that was just asked in the chat a few minutes ago, is how do I get started with the Omniverse platform? And so we have been working very hard in NVIDIA on the Omniverse team to basically have multiple touch points with the community. So Wendy, who's awesome, is our forum goddess. So she manages all of our forums. The forums is an awesome place to go to, especially if you want to start getting a deep dive into technical. That's where our developers go to. We have our ticketing systems working with the forum, so that's where you go for bugs and things like that. So that's a good place to go. But I would say the first place to go is probably either YouTube or NVIDIA On Demand to check out some videos. We have tutorials separated by app or by topic, and if you have Omniverse installed Omniverse has a launcher, which allows you to get to everything, whether it's the exchange that Frank mentioned a minute ago, where you can get extensions and apps and connectors. Or we also, and next to that, we have a Learn tab. So the Learn tab has just been updated by Vince Brisbois, who is kind of helping us with the chat right now. And the cool thing about the Learn tab is right in the launcher, you can learn about anything about Omniverse. We have all the videos and playlists there, very neatly organized. So you should always check there to see what new video is out. We also have a community Discord server, which I help out with. And there we have channels separated by app and topic. I just created a whole new section for our super developer here, Damien. So we have basically a new channel for all these different topics for developers. So we're seeing that we're seeing a lot more developers jump on. Discord is the best place to go to kind of talk with other users. We do have some developers hanging out there, but that's probably not the place to go to for if you want official support. You want to go to the forums. That's not to say we aren't helping people on Discord also, but we can't track it as easily there. So any other advice for people who want to get started with it?
No, I'm seeing some great questions here
Yeah.
in both Twitch and YouTube. Maybe we can dig into some of them.
Yeah. So I saw a good one earlier about unless you guys about animation. So Frank, this probably is good for you. Will Omniverse have some procedural animation capabilities in the future?
Oh man, am I excited! So the Omniverse to this point has mostly been about getting USD in, working with layers and collaboration, and getting the renderer built up, and it's really getting the world built, right? But now we're on to this next phase, and I'm excited. There's some really cool stuff coming very soon, and a lot of that is about making that world alive. And that includes animation tools like keyframing and curve editing, just the basics. At least if you want to make a nice sequence inside the tool. Of course, we launched a sequence with Sequencer with Machinima. That's a really awesome tool to make your own little movies out of that. But now we're heading into computing on top of Omniverse, and you saw a little piece of it with OmniGraph, but now we're soon coming out with this thing we call Action Graph, which allows you to do things, a lot of different types of actions and keyboard inputs, and really start controlling the scene with any kind of action. But on top of that is also an animation graph, animation graph for proceduralism in animation and AI-driven animation that is just, I think it's going to blow some people's mind when they see it. It's just really awesome. It's really easy to use, and it's highly extensible. And even the computing framework on top of OmniGraph. It's visually making it really easy to assemble these things, but also even creating high performant GPU accelerated computing like nodes in this graph is also really easy using Python syntax. So we've got a lot of stuff coming in the short period of time that we can't wait to show you more and more of.
Yeah, and I'll just first agree. I'm super excited. Work with the team all the time. They're just doing amazing work. Just shout out for developers, right? Most of these team are using the same SDK that, as a developer, you know who I'm talking to you have access to, right? And there is loads of really great tools to build graphs. There is loads of and then you get access to some of these low-level things like OmniGraph as well. To build your own tool. And so I think there is really like the tool that you're seeing coming that are going to be really, really great. They're built with SDK that is really available to you mostly already. And so as a developer, you can also, bring your own technology and connect it with your ideas and your algorithm. So there is the things that we're going to bring to the market that's going to, show what's possible with the platform and enable the users. But as developers, really, like, it's just hey, take the challenge, do your own things, make Frank amazed, and next time you want to present your extension.
And that was really great. I mean, looking at the animation stuff, like, I think what I'm most excited about, even looking back from last year, one of the things was just audio to face, like things like that can really impact the industry in a totally different way using AI. I think is going to be the superpower, right, for Omniverse, where developers can use the platform to create new tools like that. We'll of course create some too, but opening this up to developers to create even more, I think it's going to be an exciting future ahead here.
So that touches on a question we just got, and we kind of answered it a little bit, but maybe just dive into a little bit more. How do developers release extensions that they're making for Omniverse?
So that's a great question. We get that a lot. I think the same process that we use internally is available for external developers, right? And so I think that's important. We sort of have a multi-tier kind of platform where we build the Kit SDK, and then a lot of teams at NVIDIA are using that Kit SDK every day, almost the same way that external developers are. So from an extension perspective, like in Omniverse Kit, and Kit-based applications, everything is an extension. So from the UI system or even the low-level one, they're all extensions. So they're a set of files and Pythons and binaries and assets for graphics and documentations, bundled together into one unit of functionality that you can share with others. Once you're there, you have multiple ways to share it with the world. You can export it as a zip file and then send it to your friends through emails or Slack or whatever. That works. It's super easy to then ingest. Just import my extensions and piece of functionality. Toward the end of last year, through Rev great guidance and constant ask, we've implemented support for GitHub. So you can have GitHub folders, like repository, where you store your extensions, and then you can just send that GitHub public URL to your friends. They can just add that to their list of repository, places where they have cool extensions, and then they get that sort of magical auto updates and discovery of these extensions, and then you can even get like pull requests and these type of things, and really collaborating on the code. When you're an enterprise customer or small teams, or you have a Nucleus server, you can publish these extensions to a shared Nucleus server, and that's how we work internally. Like we have hundreds and hundreds of these extensions that many teams across our organizations are building and publishing to this shared space where everybody sort of discover and contributes, and you get these constant updates, and you get them refreshing all the times and everything. So that's a great way. And then what's coming this year, and we allude to, and we have some of that already, some places. There will be some mechanism where we will facilitate that sharing with a shared repository, and then the principle will be the same. It's just that we will help with kind of you share with us, we share with everybody else. That gives you a place of discovery. We'll help curate. We'll help with a lot of the tooling that is coming also around. Testing these extensions against future SDK, being able to help with, review and this type of support in your developer life cycles.
That's awesome. And Wendy actually has created a nice.
I think part of the question was also about what does the license allow you to do? So if you develop a new extension and it's yours, you're welcome to do whatever you like with it. You can release it publicly, you can sell it, you can charge whatever you like for it, without worrying about giving us a cut or anything. We want to encourage people to build on top of Omniverse and add value and do it in the way that makes sense for their particular business. And you can know that if you develop on top of Omniverse, you have potentially very large markets that are going to become available to you. Where Omniverse Enterprise is spreading throughout many industries for simulation. Companies that typically haven't really done much computer graphics and stuff are now entering in the space because of Omniverse. So your extensions will be valuable to a great many businesses out there. But also we've made Omniverse individual free. So individuals out there who have Omniverse can benefit from the extensions and apps you develop on top of that. And so between both of those different domains, there's a very large market and user base that's already forming, and it's going to be much larger because we're going to continue to invest in this forevermore here at NVIDIA.
That's awesome. A question for Damien. So we touched on Nucleus a couple times already, and I think that's probably another common question Wendy and I both see a lot about how to set up the Nucleus and things like that. We're not going to go into every step here. It's a separate show, and we have videos coming out on that because we understand that's a really important thing to walk people through. We have documentation, of course, already, but generally speaking, the question is it okay to install a Nucleus on the local PC where you're using your apps, whether it's Blender or Omniverse, or do you have to find another PC to have that? So Nucleus can be on the same PC, of course, right?
Yeah. Of course, and that's actually really easy. Like you can have a tutorial and everything walk through, but through the same mechanism that you can install everything else using the launcher, you can install Nucleus. There is a Nucleus tabs. You go there, you say, oh, install collaborations. It will install everything for you, and then you'll have that Nucleus server. That's the best way to collaborate with yourself, right? Collaboration is important between multiple users, but a really superpower of Nucleus is enable your application to collaborate with each other, even without them knowing through the connectors. And so that's already a great workflow where your Maya can talk to your Unreal, can talk to your Substance Painter, and then suddenly you have these worlds of connected apps using your local Nucleus server. And there is a workflow, again, part of that collaborations with one other to expose that Nucleus server through your local network or with your friends in some mechanism, right? You're in charge of your network security, but you can expose that and you can use one of your PC has your Nucleus server for your small group of collaborator. And
you can think about Nucleus and the apps as sometimes they explain it as like PowerPoint and SharePoint. Like any of our apps, like Audio Interface or Create, can open any files you have. You can have import OBJ files, FBX files, it takes them directly, and you can make scenes and save them to your hard drive and work like you normally work if you want to use your local file system. So it's really easy to just get up and started with Create today. But then if you look at Nucleus is like SharePoint. So SharePoint allows you to collaborate on any files. I can put anything on SharePoint. I can put FBX files, Max files, JPEG files, whatever. But when PowerPoint and SharePoint are working together, then they can do it live. They can do live updates. You can have multiple users collaborating on that presentation. So same thing as with our tools is that when you use an app with Nucleus together, it unlocks another superpower of this live collaboration between your tools, between other users, between microservices, between lots of other great things. So it's just an added power as you add them. Now you can install it again, like Damien said, on your own machine. You can put it on another laptop next to you. You can put it in your friend's house. It doesn't matter where you put it. You can install as many as you want. Put them everywhere, and they're great. And actually, the cool thing is that the assets that are on a Nucleus are just URLs. So one server can actually talk to another server, and another server, and another server, and another server, because they're just URLs to the servers, right? So I can say Frank's house, is getting an asset from John's house, and getting an asset from. So you can kind of connect them together, which is really cool.
Exactly analogous to a HTML page.
Yeah,
you can have URLs that point to different HTTP servers. So you have one document, one web page that's actually there's a composition of things on many different web servers. The same is true with Nucleus. You can construct one world that references assets, pieces of those worlds, all on different Nucleus servers.
And even the apps are designed that way. So even, for example, in Create, I can go get a texture from Home Depot's website and put it on my object. Like I do it all the time. Like I do, if I'm working on a section of the house I want to redesign, I'll actually go to Home Depot and just right click on the image and say use the URL directly inside of the app, and I'll see the floor pattern on there. It's like amazing. You don't have to actually import it. But so then there's multiple Nucleuses. There's the Nucleus workstation, which I was just talking about. You can get that in Launcher and you can install it everywhere. Then there's Nucleus Server, and the idea of that is that it's deployed through, on Linux, on a Docker container. So it's much more manageable for like an IT department, and they can connect it to SSO, and they can have turn on security for security features. Really be enterprise level grade features for it. And then we have a third option coming, which we've just kind of slowly been releasing bits and pieces, but we have Nucleus Cloud coming, which is even going to be cooler, because now you can access already set up Nucleus in the cloud. Go to the NVIDIA webpage and say, make me one, and start using it. It's going to be cool. We're doing early access of it now. You can sign up for it, but there'll be a Nucleus Cloud.
You can think of it sort of like GitHub, but for 3D.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Actually, that touched on something that another question we've been getting asked a lot about as people are hearing more about Omniverse and want to understand more what they can use it for. So we get a lot of questions about people who want to set up their own virtual worlds, and is Omniverse able to do that? And I think the big part of that is they're curious where is it hosted if they want to make content? And so relating to the Nucleus question, so generally that's you host your own world right now, right? Or you could host on your own server and eventually Nucleus Cloud. But do you guys want to talk? It's probably good for Rev. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's good to point out too, when you host your own, that could be on your own hardware, on your own workstation, or on your own server you have set up. But it could also be on your own infrastructure you're renting from the cloud providers. It could be in AWS or Google Cloud or Azure. That's all fine as long as it's for you. But for those that don't have an IT department and don't want to deal with the hassle of maintaining servers, we're going to introduce a service that you can just rent from us, much like you can do Google Docs, Google Drive, or GitHub, or any of Dropbox, this sort of thing. You can think of Nucleus in the cloud in the same regard, and it'll have the full set of Nucleus features and probably additional ones. We'll start adding microservices and other extra features that takes advantage of the fact that your data is going to be near a lot of compute power in our data centers.
Yeah, that's what's cool. So unlike the Dropboxes and the Google Drive, it's designed for creators and people who use this kind of content. So it's going to do things like, we have this really cool AI search coming that you can just search for anything using natural language. Find me a red rusty barrel that will fit this scene, right? And it'll just find you assets that will be perfect for your scene. So it's going to be, and again, now you power that with microservices to do conversions from this format to that format, or to render it out as a movie, or do turntables. There's going to be lots of really great, creator based features.
Yeah, I think one of the most common pieces of feedback we heard from artists who started working with Omniverse, starting with one of the contests we did last year, and then now on their own, is they are just shocked by the rendering time improvements.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so Frank, this is probably good for you to explain, but it's pretty transformative, right, in someone's workflow.
First, I didn't think I was going to see ray tracing in my lifetime in real time. That was just blew me away. Because it's ground truth, from the ground up ray tracing, the primary rays to full path tracing. And what's great is that we're delivering a full continuum. We've got the real-time ray tracing, so if you need to be full speed, real-time. We've got the RTX real-time mode. Then you got path tracing, brute force path tracing, still interactive, still near real-time. And in fact, everything we do is multi-GPU. So if you need to go real-time with path tracing, you can do that by throwing more GPUs at it. And that's actually really an amazing Omniverse superpower. And then lastly, we have iRay. So what we're calling the RTX ground truth, which is going to give you the most physically accurate results possible with MDL and the rendering and the lighting based on open standards for USD. So you can do the accurate spectral rendering of a light lens, or do things that just weren't easily possible in any of these renderers before out there. And we have the full spectrum available to you right out of the box. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Frank alluded to there is this continuous, the continuous, dial, right? It's not a, hey, I've got my asset for RT, and then I've got a bunch of variant or version for PT, and then iRay use, different shaders. So I got to convert no, it's just one scene, one ground truth, and then you just dial the quality versus speed, and the different angles of what your workflow require. And so that's really amazing. And then when you combine that with Omniverse Farm, that now you can go all the way to that sort of ultra high quality, 4K, all the bells and whistle, magical, things. And then you just launch it on the farm, and then you just scale up, or you just wait a little longer. And in the morning, you see these amazing videos that people have done for the contest, for example, or that they are in some of the things that we've seen at GTC. Many of the GTC keynote include like large amount of Omniverse rendered content. Using that principle. Everyone works in real time, super interactive, in a collaborative fashions. Everyone's working from home on these assets, but everything is kind of in a live nature. They then do, a sort of path tracing. They look at really the fine details and the beautiful quality in that interactive mode. And then they, get this AI denoiser that still in like few seconds give them a beautiful image. And they're like, yeah, I'm ready. Now I'm Jensen ready. I'm just gonna, cook it up a little longer, make it 4K, make sure that it runs super buttery smooth, and then launch that on the farm. make a nice sequence, go into edit, and then it shows up in the keynote in those beautiful ways. So we're really excited. The rendering is definitely something that people are always in complete admiration with, and we do the same.
Yeah, I've heard from some artists that sometimes in the previous workflows without this, but prior to this, they couldn't wait enough they couldn't render themselves. They had to kind of keep their fingers crossed that everything was going to look as they hoped. And for commercial projects, they submit it and then hope it. Now they're able to kind of see sometimes in minutes what would have taken hours or longer. So the opportunity for them to iterate is just totally changes their work life. So that's pretty amazing. So speaking of artists and creators, we have a pretty cool feature on our website called the Omniverse Gallery page, and we really want people to submit their work. If you're doing stuff in Omniverse and you want us in the world to see, please submit it to the gallery page. You will be able to tell us what apps you used, and we're going to pick some of those to even promote more wider. And we're also always interested in talking to people who want to share their kind of workflows and help other users. So that happens through blogs or through video tutorials and things like that. So if you're using Omniverse and have something to share, definitely get in touch with us. We're very accessible on the forums and on Discord. So actually, one thing I wanted to touch on too was another popular topic we get. I'm not sure who this is best for actually. Is XR. And VR specifically and Omniverse. I know we just made a pretty cool announcement at CES on Omniverse VR. So what's and I know NVIDIA, we also have this Cloud XR group led by some great people. So can we talk about how this kind of mixes up with Omniverse?
Yeah, so we're releasing so we've announced it already, but we are releasing VR mode as well. And really, it's just the RTX real-time renderer, but now in VR, and we're putting a new skin on it that gives you, VR workflows. We're gearing to release that soon, but it's awesome because again with the ray tracing, nothing's baked, right? So you're getting just like film assets and CAD assets or whatever assets you want, put them in VR and run them in real time. It's unbelievable. So yeah, we're pretty excited about it, and it's gonna be awesome.
Cool. We actually just this is unofficial, so don't tell anybody. But earlier I was in a meeting and we were talking about maybe putting the showroom app in and support it in VR, so you can basically go and kind of look at people's work. But you didn't hear it from me. All right. So a couple.
There was one question I think we should answer about source code for extensions. Maybe Damien, you can talk about that. Specifically with Omniverse Individual, we can talk about how most of our extensions are Python and the source.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so again, and Mar was talking about the great video. So if you want to learn more in details about some of these things, I did a bunch of videos. Some people did in my team for the Omniverse kit. So we go into some of the detail, but an important aspect about extensions is both we wanted to make sure that everybody could build the Omniverse and contribute, but also we wanted to make sure that in some fashion everybody could learn from each other to build bigger things, benefiting from the code of the others. And so that's why from the really onset, Python was a very important language, almost the primary language into which we deliver those, and we made sure that everything is first class, and we eat our own things, beliefs, right? We build all of these top level extensions entirely in Python, making sure that everything is as efficient as it needs to be for the type of workflow. And so the superpower that gives the platform is create, code, view. They're built out of 200 plus extensions. More than half of them, so 75% of them, they're written in Python. They're using the low-level C++ API. They're using library that are written in Python. And so what it means for you as a developer or a builder is that you have access to these wealth of resources. Professionally build, sort of production-proven extensions entirely written in Python that you can use as learning tools. You can, hack them around, test different ideas that you have, mix and match them in some ways, and then you can just make your own ideas and build it on top of the ones that were before there. So I think that's really important. Is if you look at any of the apps that we've built, a large portion of their, it's like source available. It's not open source, but source are available. You can go, you can look at them, you can read them, and then we encourage everybody to do that. Every time I make a video, I show exactly how to do that. It's just take you a couple of clicks, and then you learn from that, then you build your own, and then you add on top of the platform, making sure that you don't have to reinvent anything. So that's a very important point for the very onset that was part of the vision of Omniverse.
That's awesome. And we actually have GTC coming up already in March. So we recently just announced some of the content. There's going to be a heavy focus on Omniverse. We'll have our next user group meeting for Omniverse. So that's a great place to learn about what's coming. A nice show and tell usually, and developer focus sessions. So if you have not registered, go to the NVIDIA website, register for GTC. It's totally free. And all virtual this year. Another thing we're working on, because we've been getting, actually Rev pointed this out the other day, we've been getting more requests to get involved with hackathons. And I've already been speaking with a few people from the community who've actually been planning them on their own. But just to let everybody know, so we are very excited about the prospect of hackathons for Omniverse. We think this platform is perfect for it. We think the community is going to do some amazing things. We just came out of beta for Omniverse individuals recently at CES. So the plan right now is to kind of where we started meeting on internally, working with the great hackathon organizer that works on some other stuff at NVIDIA, who's going to be helping us. So we'll definitely have more news on that. Maybe we're going to try to get something going in time for to talk more about at GTC at the user group. But if you're interested in that, definitely, I started a hackathon channel on Discord earlier today. So come in there with your ideas. And then the other thing I want to mention, next week, we have a really interesting creator from Nigeria, Benny D, who is an animator and who's just been doing some amazing things with Omniverse. He's actually an animator that has worked with Cartoon Network and does a TV show based on teaching Nigerian children different dances. And he showed off some of the stuff that he's doing with Omniverse, and it's beautiful. So we're going to have him next week. Cool thing about next week's show is that we reached out to one of the tool makers he's working with. He works with a tool called iClone, made by Real Illusion. Really awesome technology. Maybe Damien, you could explain a little bit. But they're gonna come on the live stream with Benny next week, and he's gonna do a nice show and tell, and then we'll hear from them about what's in store for them over the next coming months. But that's a good actually point. So Damien, tools like Real Illusion. How would you describe like what Real Illusion really allows to people like creators and animators like Benny D?
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's a great platform from Real Illusions. They're effectively, well, they do a lot of different things, but they have character generators to be able to build a lot of different types of character. Part of their platform has also things to include animations and bring things together in a very sort of intuitive ways. Is like your ultimate character maker puppeteering kind of tooling. And then really early on, they saw Omniverse and wanted to kind of be part of it, and so they build a connector. And they build a connector that makes sure that their platform, support USD, export USD, MDL, do it really faithfully, and then starting working toward this unit, bi-directional live connection, so you can work in one and in the other at the same time. So there's really a lot of great video where you see the iClone platform. There's different, making the characters, also the animations. They have things around a lot of clip of libraries that makes it super easy. And then the RTX renderer and the kit tooling to do a bit of that collaborations and movie making. So again, great technology that fix particular problems that connect to the Omniverse and bring the entire ecosystem of platform with them. So yeah, they're a great contributor. I'll be super excited to see what they've done with this creator.
Awesome. We actually just got a question a few minutes ago about Unity. Is there anything that we can share about how Unity is supporting USD?
Interject for 1 second. Sorry to interrupt. I actually have to go. I have another meeting, and this is booked till I'm a little bit late. I really would love to do the full 12 hours. But,
we got you covered, right? Don't worry. We'll tell you how it finished.
Go build Omniverse, but Damien and Frank are more than enough to answer all these questions.
Thanks, Rev. Thanks so much for coming, Rev. Rev will be back.
Bye.
Yeah.
No
So,
bathroom breaks
only
for
one
12
left.
hours.
Edmar and I were going to battle the 12 hours. There should only
Right.
be one left.
I've got my
Let's see who
water.
went out. Yeah, me too. To be careful.
So how does Unity support USD now? There is some support coming, right? Or from Unity, they've been working on USD.
Yeah, I mean, we love Unity. Unity's a great product. Yeah, they started off with the USD, some USD, plugins. I don't know where they are today. I think that one, it was kind of on hold. I mean, at least that didn't seem like it was progressing a whole lot at the time. But no, we're desperately waiting for more and more USD support out of Unity, and we'll directly connect to them, of course.
Yeah. So the guidance there, if anyone that's interested in Omniverse is using a tool that they love, just get the other community of users if they're interested in Omniverse to talk to that company and inquire about USD support. And I think the more people that ask for it, I think the more likely it is going to happen, especially if they see how it could impact their workflows and making working with their product even better, which is what our goal is. So we are at about the hour mark. I wanted to ask Frank if you could share anything about what's in store. We talked about Nucleus, but what else can you share about kind of what you're focused on? So Frank has a lot to do with kind of, I don't know how you do it, but juggling all the priorities and trying to figure out when to do what. So what's your plan for 2022 as of today?
Yeah, so that's the big thing, like I was mentioning before, is Omniverse is all about the world and building the world and having collaboration, and now we're on to the next phase of that, which is computing and animation in that world. So big things that are coming next, are one, this what we call an action graph, which is the ability to add behavior and actions to your scenes to do interactive things. So if you're doing a visualization, you can have buttons that turn on lights and open doors and do that kind of fun stuff. But there's also part of that is just general computing to things to do like particle systems or effects or things like that. We have some great new nodes and technology for that. One we call Warp, which I'm just blown away by. I think it is exciting. The idea behind that is that there's an OmniGraph node that allows you to use Python syntax, but whatever you put in there will be hardware accelerated by CUDA. So you can do things like cloth solvers and fluids and just the stuff that we're seeing internally is mind blowing, and it's real time, completely real time.
That's
So
awesome.
so I'm excited to see what developers do with that too, because when I open it up to anyone who can write Python, they can to just put these solvers in, and we actually have one of those is in Showroom. So for example, Showroom, there's a cool sample of a dune. It's actually like the Omniverse logo and the sand moving on it. But the cool thing is that was a paper that came out from the Dune movie about how they created the sand solvers, right, for sand moving around. And one of our developers just took that code and did it in Python and Warp, and boom, we had that sand solver, like real time. Like it's
Oh my God. That's
so
awesome.
I think it's just going to open up a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of work going on around our Hydra support. We've kind of initially had the ability to have the RTX renderer, and there was another way to get to the Storm renderer, the GL version of the renderer. So now we're just exposing Hydra delegates, so you can get to the RTX real time, but also get to Hydra Storm, which is OpenGL. Other renderers like maybe Blender's Cycle renderer and Arnold RenderMan, and so other renderers will be introduced through Omniverse through the Hydra API. That's super exciting. There's new manipulator frameworks. We can do some cool manipulators. Of course, all the animation things I was talking about. So having basic animation tools everywhere, just the, ground truth, just need to have keyframing and anything and everything. So we've added keyframing and curve editing on any attributes and in your scenes. And then on top of that, we've created animation graphs to do things like procedural animation, and motion matching and targeting, and so there's just a lot of animation tools coming. I mean, the list is pretty long. When Nucleus Cloud is another one, and so I can just keep going. But this is stuff that's in the next couple of months. This is not this is not later in the year sort of thing. It's but we're saving it up. Because GTC's coming next month.
Right.
You're going to start seeing some betas start leaking out. So I think you're going to start seeing some of these awesome features get announced.
That's awesome.
Just few things on the developer side. Again, those are the one that we building. The benefit there is while we build these end user technologies, we also refine all of our frameworks and we improve our SDKs and we build new versions. So, the manipulator framework that Frank's mentioned that's going to be used for, a sort of curve editing and some of the animation stuff is, a full API that you can access as a developer, all in Python. It's really easy to use, but very, very powerful. We also have in code, like just at the end of the year, but all of these new graphs are coming with like a restyled graph UI API that you can use yourself into your graph, and there's a really good sample application in Omniverse code that you can just use, again entirely written in Python, source included, and then you can get going into building your own graph-based applications based on your idea really quickly. And of course, we are really, Omniverse code that just shipped was, our first version. We wanted to kind of signal to our developer that, they will get access early to the SDK, and then they will get a platform for them to start building, this hackathon, this new extension, this really sort of contribution for the community. But we're like doubling down, tripling down on that. We have really a lot of work happening on that Omniverse code, and I suspect you'll become like a really foundational pieces of that duo triplets of apps that are part of the sort of fully supported enterprise grade. But of course, OVI, everyone should be able to just download code and write something. And we continuously make it easy, write documentations, make more videos. So there's kind of a call for actions, right? Tell us, hey, I'm a developer, I'm excited, but I don't know, or I want to build this, how do I do it? People reach out about C++, we're working on a really great plan. Just engage, the forums, the Discord, find me on LinkedIn, just connect. I know many of you do, and I'm always accepting, so just don't be shy, and then let's chat, right?
Yeah.
Damien has 1 million followers on LinkedIn already. Yeah, so actually, one thing I wanted to mention too. We tried to do a contest since like it's early last year. We've been doing a contest pretty regularly. So stay tuned for the next one, which is shaping up really nicely. But I know, Frank, you've mentioned this. I think Damien would be very excited. We definitely want to do a contest focused on developers. I think our past contest, we would focus on creators. But we would love your ideas out there. So if you're a developer and have a great idea for a contest, we're thinking about some right now, whether it's building extension or something like that. But we would love your thoughts on that, because contests are just a really fun way to see lots of great stuff being made.
Yes.
And we get to meet all new people from all over the world. So it's really exciting for us. So we love contests and what they do and help engage with the community. So give us your ideas.
And the winner, they do love the great cards they get. So there's it's not just the fame. You still get some nice perks.
That's true. Okay, so I think I've got to let these guys get back to work. So I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in today to our first live stream. So next week we'll be talking with Benny D and Real Illusion folks. After that, Damien's back again.
2 weeks.
Yep, 2 weeks. I've got him nailed down already at the time slot. So we'll be here, and then I'll post the updated schedule we have. We have basically, I think, enough live streams up until GTC planned out. So I'll post up on our Discord. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Wendy. I think the new hardware is great. So well done.
No crashes, guys. No crashes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.